This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What's shaking, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are always here to help you be happy, healthy, and wealthy. And today, we're going to focus on making some more money. We're going to focus on being healthier. And what do you know? We're going to make some more money, being wealthier. I'm guessing not just financially. I'm guessing we're going to talk about some of the wealth in terms of health, in terms of spiritually. I mean, this woman does some amazing things. Jessica Yarbrough is a successful business strategist specializing in helping coaches and consultants sell and scale ultra high-end services. She has a background in international business and has built multiple companies. Jessica excels in helping entrepreneurs help build their expert platform, increase their value, establish credibility, and attract high-paying clients. She enjoys teaching entrepreneurs how to grow their influence and achieve their income and impact goals. Jessica, that is pretty amazing. I didn't say it all that great. I stumbled several times, but what an amazing job. It's so many things you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very passionate about helping entrepreneurs, especially those that do want to make an impact, but also want to maintain their time and freedom for their lifestyle.
You know, it is interesting that when you get into being an entrepreneur, I think everyone starts, where it's like, oh, I can make as much money as I want. I can have freedom of time, but not very many entrepreneurs in the beginning, at least, succeed in actually either in the beginning and certainly time. I don't hear a lot of freedom with entrepreneurs early. What's the missing link here, Jessica? Because I think it's amazing that you're helping them get back what they went into going to be an entrepreneur to begin with.
Well, I think it's a lot of things. I think when you first start out, you're just trying to figure things out, right? And a lot of people fall into being a jack or Jill of all trades, master of none. And so they're trying to figure out, okay, how can I make money? And they're listening to all the gurus who are investing 6 figures a month on ad spend, telling them this is the way. And a lot of people try to mimic them. Like, let me see if I can emulate in that my own business. And it doesn't work well because you don't have the ad budget or the teams or the systems or the credibility yet. And so I teach 4 levels of influence. That trap of the generalist is really what holds people back for a lot of years. People typically then kind of go up to specialization, like, oh, I'm pretty good at this one thing. I feel like this is the thing that's going to make me money. And that's where their income starts to grow significantly. But then the time piece comes in. And so, working 60 to 80 hours a week, that kind of hustle, grind it out mentality at the expense of everything else around you, that's going to burn you out or kill your relationship. So you've got to make fundamental changes in your systems, really, your life systems, your business systems, your pricing model. You need to think about what is that end goal in mind and reverse engineer your business to match that. Otherwise, you're on the path to self-destruction in one way or another.
All those things are so true, but I'm looking at you are a young lady. How did you?
I'm not that young. Thank you, though.
How did you learn all of this at such a young age? Or, certainly, where did this come from? This passion to help entrepreneurs do that? Is this something that you learned the hard way? Is this something just God-given?
Yes. Yeah. People always like, what's the journey? What's the lesson? There were a lot of hard lessons. Like, I started off really young in business. I managed multiple companies. I went on a journey where I built a startup, got burnt out in my early 20s. And I went on a, spiritual awakening, eat, pray, love journey where I started to dive into meditation and yoga and self-care. And honestly, as woo as it sounds and cheesy, like learning to love myself and take care of myself. I did that for about 4 years, backpacking solo. And when I started my business, I had those principles, but I fell right into that trap of, like, when I started my consulting business again, I've got to make money. How do I make this work? I'm going to launch all the time. I'm going to create all these courses. I'm going to go wide, shotgun approach, if you will. And it just wasn't in alignment. Luckily, I could lean on all of those principles that I had learned from again, years of self-care practices to start to really reprioritize what I wanted to do. And there was a quote that I read from Steve Jobs that totally changed my life. People are like, what's a book that changed your life? I'm like, no, it's a quote. For me, it was a quote. And he said, with focus and simplicity, you can move mountains. And that right there, when I was at that trap and I was stuck and I was spinning my wheels and I was making money, but I was on that path to burnout, that changed everything, because nothing about what I was doing was focused or simplified. And so when I went back to the drawing board, I deleted my 20 funnels. I got really clear on what was that next level person and that next level, goal that I wanted to create. I went all in on that, and it changed everything. I literally replaced my entire year's income in 2 weeks. Like, that's how big a shift it was financially for me.
And you made it sound so simple, but I've been running on the mousetrap, and then where you're in this maze and you're like, yeah, I can't work any harder. And you're like banging around like in this room. But the truth is, you step back, you say, all right, if Jobs says it, simplify and focus, boom, we're going to explode. But this is pretty common that we hear the same problem, people running around, rapid energy, they're trying everything they can, shiny object syndrome, all this is happening. And yet when we hear from these, the ultra successful, the Jobs, the Musks, the Richard Branson says, if you can't describe it on the back of this beer coaster, I'm not interested in your company. Why don't we learn this though? Because is it just, if I do enough energy, I'm just going to figure it out. And damn it, through sheer hard work, that's the American way. Why do we need to eat, pray, love, and figure it out energetically, really getting clear? Because I know I'm not alone, that I've experienced it not once, not twice, many times. How do we do it? Do we need a coach to really say, okay, help? Or we find a quote and we have this amazing awakening like you did? How can we help people get this experience?
Well, two answers to your question. The patterns is what we're working against, right? We're working through just patterns that are handed down and old stories that are handed down. Like, if you think about it, my parents are boomers, and they were raised by the generation who went through the Great Depression. So all of their stuff around money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard. You don't take time off. All of that was instilled. The superwoman complex that I was raised in, the mom that could do it all of those patterns were driven deep into me, and you have to break those patterns. And then we're bombarded constantly as well by the media of what we should be. So we go into this proving stage. We're always proving, trying to prove ourselves. So I think there's a lot of things that need to happen around that we have to heal. And then we have to definitely heal things around our self-worth and pricing strategy. I mean, I work with so many people who are brilliant and they're not charging enough because there is some measure of imposter syndrome and a total lack of awareness of what the market is willing to pay. So I work with so many people on this, and most of my market are in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s. So we've got a lot to do around the inner game. And then as far as how do you have that aha, for me, I think it's twofold. One, you have to go quiet to get the answer first, right? For me, the most impactful, empowering decisions I've ever made have been on my own, where I had to get quiet. That the great spiritual teacher Ram Dass says, the quieter you become, the more you can hear, right? And we are constantly on a phone, listening to other people, surveying, should I do this? I don't know enough. Do I know enough? Am I worthy enough to do this? And people will smash down your goals. So get quiet, decide what you want, then hire a coach, a strategist to hold you accountable to getting there, so you don't fall back into your old self-sabotaging patterns.
Yeah. And I want to bring this full circle for people that are like, really, you just go get quiet? Let's Go Win 100% came when I went on a 3-day JM and a tent, gallon of water.
That's it.
And what do you know? This thing that had been sitting in the back of my mind for 20 years. I wrote about Let's Go Win when I was in college in a journal, and I forgot about it. And then all of a sudden I go on this trip, 3 days, tent, a gallon of water, nothing else, not even a pen and paper, just me and thoughts. And what do you know? Let's Go Win. My entire life shifted. And so I'm listening. I'm like, damn it, I got to go back for 3 more days. I need this.
Yes.
But it scares people, right, Jessica,
Of
to
course.
get that quiet, to really sit with ourselves and think, oh, these answers are just going to come. That's not how it works. Why is it so scary? I mean, is it just we're so patterned and conditioned to have something at the tip of our fingers at all times?
I think people are deeply afraid of the success that's on the other side. And that's why so many entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs or actual entrepreneurs go to their graves with a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. If I'd only been ready, maybe then I would. Right. And so, yeah, it's scary. It's scary to walk through the fire. Like that is the proverbial fire. Right. But you also know, if you're listening to the show, you know that what you want is on the other side of fear. You know that. So you can go to a Tony Robbins event and get hyped up. You know, you can, if that's where you feel like you need. My problem with that is, are you going to make the change? And that's why going and getting quiet, I'm telling you, I've done it over and over and over again. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be fancy. Look what you did. You went and got a tent. So you can do a tent, cabin, beach house, wherever is your place, but get quiet and don't ask anyone else. Like sit and be quiet. Like your higher power, God, whatever you believe in, is guiding you. Like you already know the greatness is in you. You know what you're supposed to do, and you need to shut out the noise and get past the BS. And honestly, to be bigger than your BS so that you can move forward with what you're supposed to do in this world.
Yeah, it just seems so counterintuitive, especially to our culture of we're just going to drive and rise and grind. We're just going to go. Yeah. But I'm excited. I have a trip coming up in about a month where I get to really just be with my thoughts and meditation and some really deep work. And I know things are going to come. Yes. And I love the fact that you just cruised around different parts of the world, finding who you really are, what you wanted to do. So you mentioned 4 levels of influence.
Yes.
You briefly mentioned that earlier. Can we dive into that a little bit? I'd love to hear more of what that means.
Yeah. So 4 levels of influence to scale up an expert business and to build your influence and ultimately your impact. And at the bottom is that trap of the generalist. That's where most people get caught. This is where a lot of people will even do certifications, and become another certified blank coach, which actually can hold you back now. And I'll say that only because there are skills that you can learn, but then you're going to be competing in a sea of sameness. Right? Everybody's going to be Googling, high performance coach or John Maxwell or Franklin, whatever it is. Right. And so if you want to build specialization and become an expert, you have to create your own methodology. You have to put your stake in the sand and say, this is who I am. And so next category up is when you start to specialize. Right. In specialization, you go all in on one thing, but typically what happens here is the business owner doesn't have enough credibility yet. And you typically are trapped in the center of the business doing all the things, right? You're the marketer, right? Rainmaker, salesperson, accountant, whatever it may be, you're doing everything and you can't scale with that. And so the next level where you start to feel true freedom to me is above 350,000 to multiple 7 figures. That's where you can start to experience a true lifestyle change. And that comes in that 3rd level. And that's that expert category. That's when your name starts to become synonymous for the very person that you help and the problem that you solve. And so there are 5 systems we teach you to get into that, but that's where most people that I work with want to go. The final level is thought leadership. And thought leadership has that magic ingredient of a whole lot of time. It really takes a decade of showing up as an expert to create thought leadership. And that's not where everybody wants to go in terms of that level of business. That's an 8-figure business, and that's a very different animal. So, I have no desire to have that, only because I've done the inner work to know what is going to be most impactful for my life. And so that's what you have to know. If that's what you want to build, you can build that, but no, you got to put that grit and time in and know that you're going to be sacrificing a whole lot in order to create that scale of business. So understand where you want to go. Where most entrepreneurs that hire me, that I come across, want to be is they want to be in the expert category. They want to have a 7-figure business, but they still want to do it on their terms and be able to take vacations and, not work 12-hour days and be really present with their family.
Yeah, that's a part that I think so often people miss and again, I'll fall on the sword because I've done it, where I'm clear, this is what I'm trying to do. Oh, but wait, I can just make a little more. I can make a little more. And what I'm hearing you say is like, no, I'm clear on exactly what my values are. What I really want is that freedom of time. I love
Yes.
my business. I love being in that expert category, but do I
Yes.
really want to grind it out that much more for an extra zero in my bank account? Yeah, probably not.
Well, it's
Uh,
not, I know it's not going to change my level of satisfaction. In fact, it'll decrease, because what happens if I go into overworking mode, I start to resent it. And I don't want that. I like taking 5 to 6 weeks of vacation a year. I love being the person that picks up my daughter and takes her up, or picks her up, drops her off, and being present with everything. And that's what's important to me. And sometimes I feel like people get so caught up in what the gurus have. And we know, because we've seen so many gurus fall from grace, what's happening behind the scenes is a nightmare. That's where you see people who have major health crisis, or their relationships into divorce, and all of these things. So if that's what you want, great. Just make sure it's really what you want, because you can have a very profitable business and a great lifestyle and still have time for all the things that matter, and be fulfilled on more than just a financial level.
yeah. And again, guys, that's why we talk about being happy, healthy, and wealthy. It's very holistic. And that's what I'm hearing here. I want to talk about the lessons you've learned building several 7-figure companies. And it says, like, talking about self-care and health, which I love. This is
Huge.
an area that I'm so passionate about. Again, didn't do that in my first company and a half, grinding, making, all the money, and my relationships suck and my health sucks. I'm about to get divorced, losing the whole family. This isn't what I signed up for. We don't have to get to that point. That's my hope. That's why I tell people that story. I don't want them to get to that point. So talk to me about self-care, taking care of yourself, creating boundaries so that you can really thrive in whatever business you choose to build.
Yeah, I mean, I think self-care is one of the most overlooked aspects of business growth without sacrificing all those things that you just talked about. And so it's really important that you have some great people in your corner. This is where having a great coach, and this is important, a coach that is in alignment with the values and the lifestyle that you want to live. I know in the past, I've hired some great coaches who are great at the money-making aspect, and then behind the scenes, their life was a mess. And so that's one of the things I really look for just at my stage is, is your health where it should be, and are you modeling not just the financial, but all the things that are I value. And so this, having the right support person is going to be key, who can say, listen, you need to stop, you need to put boundaries here, you need to end work at this time, and creating those rules for success. Like for me, time blocking was huge. I don't work Fridays. I never work Fridays. It's like a golden rule in my business. And I have 1 week off a month where I don't do any calls. And that's like a recharge creative time for me. So having that time is your most precious commodity is important. Daily exercise, very important. Whatever your routine is, keeping your head in the game, meditation, energy work, all of these things that we know that the billionaires do, right? We know Steve Jobs was into this. You need to do them in your daily life, and make sure that you are taking care of yourself with the thoughts that you think, the food that you put in your body, the breath that you take, and the movement. All of those are essential.
So I want to talk on the subject of less is more, because she just said, I'm not working Fridays, which means she's not working Saturday or Sundays either.
No.
So we're talking 4 days. This is not the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week thing, Jessica. This is not the way I was raised, that you have to get, and you got to put in the time. I love this idea. And Daniel Pink actually talked about it in a book called Drive, Results Only Work Environment. What I'm hearing you say is like, look, I built my life and I happen to build my business to fit inside of my life, right?
Yes.
Versus the other way around. Dive into that a little more, because I think some people hear this and they're like, That's not practical. I can't build a 7-figure a year business doing that. I can't be bringing home that kind of money if I'm not putting in 60 to 80 hours a week. That's not possible.
Well, it really depends on your belief system and how you structure your business. Like for me, I work with high value clients. So I go ultra high end. And so I don't have a volume-based business that is reliant on more and more and more with a huge attrition rate. That's not my business. I have relationships and I work with people long-term to get them big results. And it's just a different model. I've had the other model and I did the same thing before, where I was like, okay, let's just make money and figure it out. And again, it just put me on a path of burnout. Like it was exhausting. And I had to rearrange my business with the end goal in mind. So I had to learn the hard way. I wish I could say that I just had it all figured out, but it's been a journey to set up my life in this way. And it doesn't mean that I didn't put in a lot of hard work and have to create a lot of healthy new habits. I did all the patterns, all the unhealthy patterns. I was right there with you. It just took time and learning and getting into greater alignment with what I truly want and what's meaningful for me, in order for me to become this version of myself. And so if you're like, it's not possible, it is. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take deep changes in your habits and in your thoughts and in the structure of the way that you're setting up things. And if you don't do that, what I've seen time and time again, I've seen entrepreneurs hit 7 figures and then blow up their business. They're like, this isn't what I want. And they blow the whole thing up. So you don't need to get there. Stop with where you're at, pause, reflect. How can you make changes to make your business fit your life needs versus vice versa?
So I'm guessing you came out of the womb and you didn't have any of these self-limiting beliefs. It raised you in a way that it was like, but no, I know that's BS because you already said, look, I came from the boomer generation. And if it was similar to mine, that wasn't what we were taught, what you just said. We were taught that you get up and you go to work for the same company for 30 plus years and you put in your time. And I know for me, one of those limiting beliefs was always around money. And
100%.
Oh, so
100%.
So you dealt with this as well. Okay. So we're not alone. Okay. And it took years for me to go overcome that. In fact, the first time I made 7 figures in a year, I felt like shit. So we're clear. I did not feel good about myself. And that took time.
Me too.
All right. So I have a sister and I didn't know about. So how do you, because we talk about it, we do this work, we get quiet. I want to get a little more granular. What was it for you? Was it reading books? Was it going to personal development? What was it that allowed you to say, okay, I recognize this belief. This is not the story I want to tell myself. It's not supporting who I want to be, what my life should look like.
Yeah.
What do I actually do, Jessica? Because cool, I want some tangible steps. What worked for you?
Definitely working with coaches. I mean, I think books are inspirational. That's what I said. People always like, what's a book that changed your life? I think books are inspirational, but if we don't have someone that can call you on your BS and hold you accountable to what you want and say, hey, you're slipping, and call you out, like I need that, and that's how I have made these gains, and crushed those beliefs and chiseled away. I remember I went through the whole journey around my self-worth and pricing and, and sobbing, crying, breaking down, all of the things. But if I did not have someone in my corner continuously, I would not be where I am today. And I would say this has been 2 decades, more than 2 decades, where I've continually had a thought partner, a coach of some sort that has helped me. And it is absolutely essential. You need someone outside, definitely of your family and your friends, because your friends are great, but you can't go to them all the time about everything, or your partner, your spouse. You need someone out there who can call you out and can hold you in alignment to what you want and the greatest version that you can be of yourself. Absolutely. That is hands down the biggest thing that changed. With that, I also continue to do the inner work. Like I've been practicing yoga for 15 years and, making sure that I know that if I don't work out, that affects my mental state. So I'm still doing all of the things, but I've hired nutritionists, holistic health practitioners, I've done things to optimize my health and wellness and IV drips and massage therapy and acupuncture. I've been taking care of myself on that level and having a coach in my corner for decades.
How do you go about finding those coaches? Because you talked about aligning values or saying, all right, look, I want a coach. Okay, I want it to look like this.
Yes.
Make sure, because again, I've hired lots of coaches. Some are amazing. Some, I definitely wasted a couple dollars, which maybe that's all part of it. How have you found it most effective? Is it an interview of these coaches, like a thorough interview with them to figure out, hey, this is my guy or gal that I want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the way that I found people is do I resonate with their message? That's typically it. It's never anything aggressive or sleazy or salesy. I don't like any of that stuff. Do I resonate? If they come with a recommendation, like, great, that's also awesome, that referral. But I've also resonated with someone's message, and I'll typically check them out and watch them for a little while to see, are they in integrity, or did they change up what they say? Are they consistent? Are they congruent? I lean a lot on my intuition, to be honest, because I've been burned, like I think we all have. And I ask good questions and I look at results. And are the results tied to someone like me? And do I feel like we have that shared value? I will look at their personal life now and just see, is there alignment? Are they going to, put me off on a path that is not where I want to go? Because I'm very, very clear now. And I just think part of it is learning and hiring the wrong people. Unfortunately, I always tell people, I always say, I've invested so much in my business. I said, listen, the average person that comes to me has invested upwards of 100,000 in their business before they get to me. That's really common. Rarely am I someone's first coach. And so it's the same thing. I'm going to use my intuition. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to read what they have to say. And then I want to feel that connection when I talk to them. I want to feel connection, and then I trust that, because no matter what, I know I'm going to get results. I'm someone who's very committed. So if you show me your process, I'm going to get results. But I also want to make sure that, again, the values line up for me, and lifestyle is even more important now because of what I've created and who I just have greater clarity on what I want and who I am.
You'd mentioned time blocking as being something in addition to obviously coaches holding you accountable, you're very clear on, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get it done in this time. How do you set that up in an effective manner? Because I agree with it sounds amazing. I would love to get a snapshot of, like, hey, I'm working on my business, I don't know, an hour a day, 2 hours, or whatever it is. I'm working on my business an hour a day. I'm doing this personal development an hour a day. What does that look like for you?
Well, I have 3 dedicated coaching days per month, sometimes 4. I have a floater day. So that's it. That's when I coach all of my clients. And we schedule people out for the entire year. And again, just reclaiming my time has been really powerful. And I have a floater day to move people around. But I don't allow my brain to jump from coaching to another activity. I stack things. So that means I'm not having Zoom fatigue, right? Because there's only certain days where I have that camera on. I push everything back so that I can get my workout in the morning. I can get my walk to school. I can have peace and quiet in the morning. That's my thinking time. Let's see, what else did I do? Again, I have my week of creative time. So 1 week a month is no calls, including with my team. Like, I'll Slack with them, but I have a full week every month that I allow to either be creative time or vacation time. That's how I have this 5 to 6 weeks of vacation a year. So when my daughter's out of school, we vacation, and those other weeks are creative time for me. And that is where I get to do things that can really drive the vision of the business forward. So again, I'm just giving myself a lot of space, and I tend to end my days early. I end my day at 3:30. And so I have plenty of time to unwind. I'm not taking the stress to bed. I can cook dinner. Just, again, having a lot of strong boundaries around time. I don't answer emails after hours or on weekends. In fact, when I have a call with someone, I make that very clear. Like you have unlimited phone and email access to me, but I answer during normal working hours, no nights or weekends. And every time I say that, because I work with high performers, they say, wow, that's really awesome. I need to do that. Because every high performer I work with is answering things at 9 o'clock at night. So I don't do any of that. Again, just strong boundaries. That was one of my lessons to 7 figures, was having strong boundaries around your time, learning to say no, creating systems that, again, protect your energy.
So if I heard this correctly, you said there's a week with your
Yes.
entire team, there are no phone calls that are happening between one another.
Correct.
Okay. Now, why I want to dive into this is I want everyone that just had a freak out moment of control issues of there's no fucking way that's possible. What happens to your team when you allow them that freedom, when you allow them the space to operate the business without you there, to create a project without any oversight? What actually happens? Because I think I know, I've seen it in my own business. I'm not saying I do what you do very often, but whenever I've stepped away, typically amazing things happen. What's been your experience when you do this week? What comes out of it?
They get things done and they come back to me with ideas. And that's exactly what I'll say. Like, I'm not going to sit on a call. In the past, I did this. I mean, years ago, I would sit on a call and we try to hash things out. I'm very different now. I'll say, here's the problem. I want you to think about it. Come back to me next time with what you think the solution is. I really give them a lot of autonomy in their role. I don't want to micromanage. It's not empowering for anyone. And I'm really blessed. My team has been with me 3 to 5 years plus, each member of my team, with the exception of one person who's newer to the team. So that's something to me. You know, we have a great relationship. I fully trust them and I don't need to micromanage. And we don't need to meet all the time. Like that was one of my triggers when I was in a startup company, is we were meeting all the time. And if you have a project and a deadline, I get like you need to have some meetings, but we just don't meet. I don't even meet with all members of my team every week anymore. We don't need to do it. So we have our check-in meetings. We have Slack. You know, I'll create a Loom video if I need to walk them through something, but we just have a really great working relationship. And I don't feel like I need to crack the whip and, you know, put them in meetings all day long.
How do you shut the brain off? Because you have these boundaries. It's Thursday evening.
Yes.
And you are about to shut it down about 3 o'clock. Big client, big problem. Oh, but you're not working Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How do you shut that off so you're not constantly doing the let me think about this work thing throughout the entirety of those 3 days?
Yeah. So if there was an urgent problem, I'm going to hop on the call with them on Thursday at 3:30. You know, it's usually easier than trying to send an email. You know, in my business, we don't have that many I'm going to be honest. We don't have a ton of urgent issues that are happening. It's not like an agency where something breaks and you've got to fix it. Usually things can be solved in a 5-minute phone call. I'm going to solve it and then I'm going to walk away from it. Like that, it's as simple as that. I can't have my energy constantly in my clients' businesses, because that's going to drain me and I'm not going to be as effective as a coach. So it doesn't mean that sometimes I don't get ideas pop in my head. I'll put them in a notepad and we'll talk about them on our next call, or I'll shoot them an email during working hours. I had that happen this morning. Something popped into my head. So when it came time for me to sit at my desk, I sent them an email, said, hey, you should do this. I can't, you know, and I don't think any of us can. We can't constantly be strategizing, especially that's what I do about other people's businesses. We have to take pauses and be focused and present in your own life.
Yeah. And for everybody that thinks your idea right now is the best, I promise you it's not. I do it all the time where I'm like, oh, we got to dive in. Actually, let's write it down. Let's pause for, I don't know, an hour, a day,
Yes.
a couple of days. And maybe that was the best idea. Or maybe it was a small iteration of something that's way better had we taken some time. I love that. What haven't I asked you that you're like, dude, you should ask me this. Everyone needs to know from Jessica. This is something that you should have known enough to ask Jan, but I just didn't. What did I miss?
I feel like if we're talking about people in leadership, that you've got to love and take care of your people. You know, building a team is one of the hardest aspects of growing a business. It really is. I'm talking about finding good, loyal people that you can trust and that stick with you for the long term. And you've got to love on them. You've got to treat them well. I'm taking my team tomorrow. I'm very excited to a wellness retreat, 5-day wellness retreat to spoil them for hitting our goals last year. And I wish that someone had done this for me. I'd been on work retreats. This is not a work retreat. This is horseback riding, yoga, spa, like amazing. And I'm so grateful to be able to gift them with this. And I'm trying to, everything I create in the business, both for my clients and for my team, is what was missing in leadership, in the leadership experiences I had in the past, and how can I love on them and create an environment where people want to stay. And in the last few months, I get emotional thinking about this. I had 2 different team members come up to me and they got emotional. Both of them cried 2 separate times and said, "Jessica, you changed my life," and thanked me because I changed their income, how, I coached them on how to be more effective and leaders in their own business and leaders in general. And I preached the self-care model, and it changed them. And so loving on people and taking care of your people will allow you to also create the style business model. And I feel like that's one thing we didn't dive too much into.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear how the wellness retreat goes. Are you going to allow any work talk there? Or is this just time with one another?
No, actually, we're going to talk more about self-care because, again, some of the things, the patterns that I've worked through, not all of them have completely flushed out. Because they maybe haven't spent 2 decades working on it. So literally, I have a packing list, and I was like, do not bring your laptops to it, because I don't want that to be the focus. I want it to be about self-care, self-love. How can you, again, disconnect and recharge so that you can show up better in work and in life. And that's really what the theme of this retreat is.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Not to use the word again and again, but it's true. I like that you're able to use that word. You're preaching it to your people so that they can show up as the best version of themselves in every day, as an employee, as a husband, a wife, whatever hat they're wearing. I think it's amazing. Jessica, if people wanted to connect with you and they said, "Hey, if you have time to work with me, Jessica, I'd be interested." Sure. Where can they find you online?
Well, definitely go to jessicayarbrough.com/influence, download my guide and consume the information. Go to LinkedIn, hit an invitation request. Let me know you heard me on the show. Follow my content. I put a ton of free value out to my audience. And if you resonate and you want to take that next step, go check out my results. You can apply. And if it's a fit, we only take people that are a fit. I always tell people I reject 60% of the applications that come through. And that's not a personal thing. It's really that we're looking for the very best fit for who we can partner with to take their business to the next level. So if you resonate, check it out. Watch me for a while if you want, and then apply.
That's awesome. The whole show was pretty amazing because, again, you're helping people obtain not only financial wealth, but health and true freedom and what they're looking for. And not only that, but you're doing exactly what you're teaching them. You're not just preaching, you're literally showing them the way. I think it's remarkable. And I'm so excited, and shout out to Carl for connecting Jessica and I. So thank you for coming. It was awesome.
Thanks for having me on your show.
You guys, look, wouldn't it be nice 4 days a week? Real clear boundaries. You're very clear on who you're going to work with, who you choose to work with as a client, not just anybody that walks through your door. Your financial health goes up. Your personal health goes up. Jessica, everything she said sounds pretty darn good. Go check it out. See if you're fit, because I want you guys to truly succeed in your business the way that you'd like to. And until next time, you guys, remember, your mindset matters. Share this with someone. Someone will gain great value from what Jessica shared today. Many, many people. And you are that person that can help them get that. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.